Hey guys, part two, if you didn't watch part one, hopefully you will. This is my friend Mala. She's been staying with me since the 27th of March. She's from the UK. She's pretty awesome. But basically, what I was saying was you need to ground each other's distortions. And so, going back to the end of part one, I was saying, not necessarily Mala telling me, no, Lily, you're not fat, you didn't gain, 10 pounds overnight. But saying something like, here's the facts. You had these foods, you did these positive behaviors, and right now you need to remember that it's these thoughts in your head that are in your head that it's making you feel that way. Physically say, you're feeling very bloated. I know, like, that's something I struggle with, and Mala also struggles with, is when you eat certain foods that you haven't eaten for a while, you might feel bloated. Okay.
Which we then interpret as feeling fat and gaining weight.
Mm-hmm. And again, you have to remember, you as viewers, remember that not everyone gets bloated after they eat. So don't compare yourself to what we're saying. This is just an example, and everyone has different symptoms. But exactly, we will interpret bloating. We will immediately, it just gets jumbled in our heads. So you have to be very careful with, that you can allow your friend to ground you, but your friend also has to take care of themselves, So, again, I wrote not competitive forces. You can't be competitive forces, whether it's negative or positive. So, for example, don't be like, well, I'm doing better than that person. For example, say you're the one that's helping your friend, and say you're having a good week, and you say, don't get to the mindset where, oh my gosh, I've been in recovery for a week, so I am now better than this person. You might not be thinking you're better than them, but you might be thinking, well, I can give them better advice now, and they can't give me any advice, that kind of thing. You need to allow, that would be positive, competition. And then, of course, negative competition would be, oh, I need to be skinnier than her, that kind of thing. Don't allow that competitive force to come in. And if you feel that it is, you need to tell your friend, you need to be like, hey, again, setting boundaries, you need to take that step back from them and just be like, look, I need to work on myself right now, because obviously the distorted views of the eating disorder are...
Yeah, you've got to communicate to each other constantly, otherwise things get out of control, and then you're not addressing things as they're coming up, and then distortions get worse, and then you're giving advice from the wrong mindset as well. Unless you address it and you're honest with your friend, then then that friend can then take accountability for themselves and think, okay, maybe I won't listen so much to what this person's saying, because they're in a bad place right now, and what they're thinking may not be exactly what I should be hearing right now.
And again, like with boundaries, that's also helping your friend. If you set those boundaries, say like there's a physical boundary. Hey, look, you've reached a point where I can no longer empathize with you because you will not be able to even sort out the distortion from the reality. So I need to direct you to X resource. And that's helping that person, because it's not feeding into the eating disorder. Because I know, like, for example, with me, if people make comments on, oh my gosh, I'm so worried, and they're doing it out of love. They're saying, I'm so worried that you've gotten so thin.
Yeah.
That's feeding my eating disorder. Because I'm thinking, oh really? Oh really? And I'm sure some of you also feel that way. But, I mean, along that same line, you need to have, like, you need to have those challenges. When you're actually working with your friend, you need to be challenging yourself. And that can help you feel less of a hypocrite, if you will, if you're accepting challenges, both of you are. And and it says, should you feel the feelings of hypocrisy? And of course, you should feel every single feeling, but make sure you realize that feeling and you work towards a positive goal. That's how I feel about it. I mean, you're working towards a positive goal. And it says, is there a way to get over them? Well, you're never really going to get over your feelings. Those are your feelings. You have your feelings. You have to accept your feelings. I mean, you may not like them. I mean, that's why eating disorders come about for the most part, is your feelings. But it comes down to, you need to be working on your own recovery as well. So, and that will help you feel better about it because you're coping with those feelings of hypocrisy and any other feelings you're having in a positive way, instead of using your eating disorder and then incorrectly, I guess you could say, going to your friend and telling them, oh, but you should be doing this. I'm not worth it, but you should be doing this.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we've put down somewhere that I said it's really important to have integrity and to demonstrate through what you're doing that you are making a real effort with your own recovery.
And be honest.
And be honest. When when you have falls and setbacks, there's no point hiding them and being secretive about them if you're in a friendship where you are helping each other positively, because that breaks everything down, breaks all the trust down, breaks confidences between the two of you, and then you're not on solid ground with that person, are you? And therefore it's not a reliable source for either of you to be working on. So if I'm demonstrating to you, Lily, this is what I'm challenging myself with today or whatever in general, and this is what I'm struggling with right now, then you know where I'm at, and then you can empathise, sure, and you can advise, but I equally know, because you've been honest with me about your own challenges and your own struggles, that okay, this is what Lily's working through as well, and therefore that will make me more sensitive to you, because how do I know that something I say isn't going to trigger you or cause you to be affected in a negative way, which is,
again, vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly.
But also honesty, and along with that, like what she's saying, if because you're being honest, if something she were to say, look, I'm really struggling, and she says a certain behavior that she's struggling with, because you've also set those boundaries and made them very clear with your friend, you can say, look, I'm really struggling with something right now, and that really triggered me. Is there any way you can go to anyone else right now to talk about that? Or, hey, look, I really can't deal with that right now. I need to take a step back.
And we did. It's almost like setting up a contract, to put it in business terms, with that friend. Before we knew we were going to be spending this time together, we had said to each other, it's not as serious as a contract, but we'd said, hey, this is what we want to achieve from our time together. We want it to be a positive experience. We want it to be where both of us are challenging ourselves, because it's a time where we're going to come together, and we are in a close enough, open enough relationship to be able to have that level of communication. And we set boundaries,
And in that case, like what she's saying, in order to give advice to your friends, you really do need to be in a close and open relationship with them.
And I was going to say that too. Yeah.
You can't be with someone that you've not really talked to, or someone that you just found out that they had an eating disorder, and say you want to be like, oh my God, I got to help you. No, what you really should be doing is working on yourself. And I mean, yes, of course, we really want to help people who are struggling with eating disorders. So maybe write down a few resources. Hey, look, this worked for me, or this is helping me. Why don't you go to this, go to this therapist, or go to this dietitian, go to this doctor, look into this treatment center, but that's your way of helping. And in that way, you're not being hypocritical, No,
completely. And I think that's a really important point, Lily, that I think the level of friendship has to be assessed before you enter into any kind of helping each other situation, because there has to be such a level of openness and trust. You can't just do it. I mean, okay, our situation at the moment is different, granted, because we spent an intensive period of time together, and it's important to say that that's not a regular situation as well.
Exactly.
It's not regular to be spending an intensive period of time with your friend,
because she's been staying with me, like in my house. So it's not like your friend leaving or whatever, but
we were only able to do that because we made these boundaries and because we know each other so well. It would be very difficult to do that with somebody that you didn't have that level of relationship or level of friendship with, because I don't think that I certainly wouldn't feel safe, or I wouldn't feel I would be able to be expressive or open enough to be in somebody's company, be it for a week, be it for an hour having a coffee or whatever, if I didn't feel comfortable with that person and understood by that person. I think it's probably the best way to put it.
And I think on that note, you really do need, you need to be close with them, and it needs to be not someone that's, Yeah, that you need to find common ground with this person other than the
Yeah.
eating disorder.
Yeah.
So say, you know,